This is James Corbett of CorbettReport.com, and this is your Sunday update for this 11th day of July 2010. And now for the real news. In our top story this week, Internet advocates are scoring key victories in the fight to prevent censorship and monitoring of the web, as governments around the world attempt to clamp down on open access to information. In the latest victory against web censorship, intense criticism has forced Australian Communications Minister Senator Stephen Conroy to announce that the Australian government will postpone implementation of Australia's internet filtering proposal for another year.
There's been plenty of opposition to the government's plan to filter the internet, and today the Communications Minister moved to delay the controversial policy for another year. Senator Conroy says that more time is needed to review what material should be included in the refused classification rating and what websites will be banned.
The aim of this review will be to examine the current scope of the existing RC classification and, in particular, whether it adequately reflects current community standards.
Another positive development came this week when a group of officials from some of the world's leading IT companies penned a letter to the U.S. Senate to express their disapproval of Senator Lieberman's cybersecurity bill that would give the President of the United States a kill switch over the Internet. The letter, addressed to Senators Lieberman, Collins, and Carper, was signed off by officials from Cisco, IBM, and Oracle. It critiques specific sections of the proposed government internet takeover bill, including Section 242, which creates a new Homeland Security Department with continuous situational awareness of private networks. According to the letter, quote, "There is no existing authority for the federal government to have continuous situational awareness of the security status of private networks, and this would be impossible to achieve without the deployment of government monitoring devices on private networks, which would also provide access to private, personal, and commercial data on those networks." End quote. The Lieberman Internet Kill Switch bill drew the attention and the ire of concerned citizens around the world when Senator Lieberman admitted on CNN that the bill's intention is to mimic Chinese-style totalitarian internet censorship.
This is a matter of national security. A cyber attack on America can do as much or more damage today by incapacitating our banks, our communications, our finance, our transportation as a conventional war attack. And the president, in catastrophic cases, not going to do it every day, not going to take it over. So I say to my friends on the internet, relax, take a look at the bill. And this is something that we need to protect our country. Right now, China, the government, can disconnect parts of its internet in the case of war. We need to have that here too.
On a related front, a group of international experts convened at the American University Washington College of Law last month to debate a proposed global copyright treaty known as the Anti-Counterfeiting Trade Agreement, or ACTA. Many have been concerned about this developing global treaty, as it would give sweeping new powers to a global governing body to oversee intellectual property law and threaten fundamental rights and freedoms that many citizens in countries like the U.S. today take for granted. The independent review panel released a startling statement last month on the dangers of the ACTA treaty, surprising many with its strongly worded rebuke of the entire treaty process. In their statement, they note the misinformation that proponents of ACTA have used to promote the agreement as a benign and beneficial treaty. The statement reads in part, quote, "Negotiators claim ACTA will not interfere with citizens' fundamental rights and liberties. It will. They claim ACTA is consistent with the WTO agreement on trade-related aspects of intellectual property rights. It is not. They claim ACTA will not increase border searches or interfere with cross-border transit of legitimate generic medicines. It will. And they claim that ACTA does not require graduated response disconnections of people from the internet. However, the agreement strongly encourages such policies." End quote. Despite the worrying nature of the treaty and the widespread criticism of it from academics, lawyers, and others, there's been little attention paid to this issue in the establishment media. In other news, LeBron James is moving to Florida to play for the Miami Heat, and that fact will not affect your life in any way. Finally this week, Israel's Army radio is reporting that the United States has offered Israel communication with a promise of open nuclear cooperation between the two countries. The report, if verified, will be the boldest move yet to formalize the nuclear state of Israel, A country that has possessed hundreds of nuclear weapons for decades, but has never publicly admitted to possessing these weapons because it refuses to sign the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. News of the U.S. offer of nuclear cooperation between the two countries comes on the heels of fresh calls by the International Atomic Energy Agency for Israel to admit its nuclear stockpile and join the Non-Proliferation Treaty.
At a meeting of the International Atomic Energy Agency, Arab nations urged Israel on Thursday to join the global non-proliferation treaty and repeated their calls for a nuclear-free Middle East. Israel is the only country in the Middle East with a stockpile of nuclear weapons, but the country has never confirmed nor denied it has nuclear weapons. By shunning the 40-year-old non-proliferation treaty, Israel has not had to reject atomic arms or allow the IAEA to probe all of its nuclear sites. Thursday's meeting marked the first time the IAEA's policymaking board tackled the topic of Israel's nuclear arsenal since 1991.
Not surprisingly, the American ambassador to the IAEA used the occasion to defend Israel, a nation with hundreds of nuclear weapons that are not open to inspection and not subject to any treaty, and vilify Iran, a country with no nuclear weapons that has allowed IAEA inspectors into its nuclear facilities and is a signatory to the Non-Proliferation Treaty.
Has broken no agreements nor failed to fulfill obligations to the agency. Discussion of this item distracts our collective attention from other pressing matters before the board. Premier among those is Iran, which stands in violation of the NPT and IAEA safeguards obligations and of resolutions of the IAEA Board of Governors and the UN Security Council.
Now stay tuned to CorbettReport.com for episode 137 of the Corbett Report, Signs, Symbols, and Sigils, where we talk to Freeman Fly of FreemanTV.com about the symbolism of the occult-obsessed elite.